I spent over a decade in school, like many of us, elementary, middle, high school, college, and somehow I graduated knowing how to find the area of a triangle. But I had no clue how taxes worked, or how credit works, or how to invest. And I'm just gonna say it. I'm sure we're all thinking it. That's absolutely insane. So school taught me a lot of things, but when it came to the stuff I actually use every single day, like money, nothing. So today I really wanted to sit down and talk about things I wish school actually taught us about money. And yeah, it's going to be a little rant video, but I'll also break down some real life things that would have actually helped. So I wanted to start with the basics, how to budget. I was told, save your money, don't spend too much, but no one really ever explained how to actually manage a paycheck or, what to do with that saved money. No one told me to, plan for rent, bills, groceries, how to deal with random life stuff that just comes up, whether it's flat tire, issue with the car, issue with the house, whatever the case may be. Imagine if we had a class where they gave us fake $3,000 a month and just kind of gave us all right, hey, build a budget, handle rent, food, transportation, emergency fund, and just kind of send us on our way to at least get that hands-on feel of what it would be like, after leaving school and getting faced with the real world. I feel it would have stuck with us way more than half the things we memorized for a test, and you forgot the next day as soon as you just info dumped on the test. So the second thing I really wanted to cover is credit. I feel credit is one of those things where if you don't know what you're doing, it can mess you up fast. One late payment sticks to your name for years, and it's just a pain in the ass to really catch back up. And yet no one really taught us how it works. What even is a credit score? How do you build it? How do you ruin it? How do you increase it? I just didn't know, and I think many of us just weren't taught that in school. Then you turn 18 and credit card companies start sending you offers in the mail. Meanwhile, you've never been taught how interest works. What exactly are you signing up for with these credit cards? It's like handing someone car keys without teaching them how to drive. Third, investing early. I think that's the probably the biggest one on the list in my opinion. I learned about compound interest in math class, but no one really told me how to actually use it in the real world. If someone had told me at 18 instead of when I started investing probably at 22, 23, hey, just put $100 a month in a basic index fund and let it sit. I probably would have been in a much better position than I currently am right now. That's kind of hindsight 2020, but I feel moving forward that seems like a big priority we should set in our schools today. Instead, investing felt like something only rich adults did, or worse, something scary. So, I mean, the truth, it's way more accessible than people think. When I started initially, looking into the investment realm, the investment world, however you want to describe it, it does look daunting at first. It looks like, wow, like I can't possibly do this, or no, like I got to keep up on these stocks on a daily basis. I got to day trade, if I want to make a profit. But then you stumble across index funds or mutual funds, and you realize, hey, this is how the smart get rich. But the truth is, it's way more accessible than people think. And the earlier you start, even with a tiny amount, that $100 a month, $50 a month, the better off you'll be. Number four, the dreaded taxes. So let's talk about taxes a little bit. How do we graduate with honors and still not know what a W-2 or 1099 is? I feel taxes aren't even that complicated when you break them down and you understand the tax brackets and how taxes overall work. But schools never even introduced the idea. And I feel they could have at least walked us through a simple tax return, showed us how to read a pay stub, taught us what gets taken out and why, where that money goes, how you end up filing taxes at the end of the year. But no, you end up Googling how to file taxes when it gets time to when you get that W-2, you're like, well, what does this piece of paper do? So hey, at least we had the old beautiful Google. Number five, lifestyle creep, and then just needs and wants. What comes with that? So I feel lifestyle creep is not talked about as much, but I feel is a pretty big concern, especially as you start to level up your career and get that bigger salary, get the bigger paychecks. Nobody tells you that once you start making money, it's way too easy to spend it as soon as you get it. It's just as fast. If you, like I mentioned, you get that career bump, you get that raise. Suddenly you might be eating out more, you might be buying things you never considered beforehand before that raise, and you don't even realize it's happening because society makes it feel normal. You see people in these expensive cars, and you pull up to them at a red light, and you look over, you're like, wow, that's a nice car, but you're really not thinking deep down. You're like, yeah, they're probably paying $600, $700, $800 a month on car payment. So it just kind of gives you a little thing to kind of gives you the perspective to think about. I wish someone taught us how to check ourselves for lack of a better phrase there, I guess. To ask, do I really need this, or am I just spending it because I can? And I guess it also depends how you were raised. If you were kind of, if you always had like a silver spoon in your mouth, you probably don't appreciate the value of a dollar as much as someone who maybe wasn't given that opportunity or given the best opportunity growing up. I guess it's a kind of just overall your lifestyle, how you were raised, etc. So I know knowing the differences between needs and wants, and having some self control could have saved me from a lot of dumb purchases growing up. But once again, hindsight 2020, I'll definitely push that onto my kids as I develop. Kind of some bonus ones. Something we don't really talk about, the emotional side of money. Money stress is real. I think that comes with everybody. It's not just about numbers. It's about identity, confidence, fear, with or without that money. When you're broke, it affects how you see yourself. Even if you're well off, when you're behind on bills, it's hard to feel in control of anything. We're not taught how to talk about money without shame. We're not really taught how to feel okay asking for help, especially regarding our finances. I feel especially as men, you're kind of just told, hey, like figure it out as you go. So I feel especially men, like going to other men, it's hard to talk about your money situations, your financial situations. But sometimes that silence, it just keeps you stuck, and it really shouldn't be that way. Definitely, especially if you get in a nice group of friends that you can discuss your situations. Hey, what is Joe doing that I can work on, or just kind of bouncing ideas off each other. I feel that's the best way to grow and educate each other. So I know this video is definitely more of a rant than educational, but I feel it was important to kind of get this one off my chest because I feel this stuff really matters. Especially like the world situation. I think education levels of our students is slowly declining in the United States, and I feel this could be an issue, or I guess this could be one of the underlying issues. It's just we're just not really taught the important things in life. Because at the end of the day, when people can say money doesn't bring happiness, but money affects every part of our lives, and we're thrown into the real world with no real preparation. But ultimately, the good news is you can learn this stuff now. It's never too late. Even though I wasn't taught this in grade school, it's like during college or a little bit after, just kind of researching, hey, how do you get into investing? And you can go down a rabbit hole. A lot of great channels out there that just kind of get you started. Get that first $1,000 invested, get the first $1,000 in your emergency fund. So it's definitely possible that you're not too late in life. Whether you're still in high school, figuring out what you want to do, whether you're in college or whether you're a little bit after college and you're just figuring out, hey, I really need to get this investing thing, under my wing. So just a couple tips, to kind of get you started. Like start tracking what you spend for 1 week, especially if you get your money like direct deposit into your bank. It makes it a lot easier to track what comes in, what comes out. So just kind of start. What do you spend for 1 week? Do it for a month, and just figure out, hey, like, is this looking right? Am I saving more than that's going out? Learning how credit works, even just the basics. Just look up YouTube. Hey, like, what is a debit card? What is a credit card? Like, how do you apply for a credit card? And then you kind of just go down the line of how interest works, the best credit cards out there. Different reasons to use a credit card. etc., etc. Listening to a podcast, I don't think many people our age read books anymore, but listening to podcasts, just kind of getting an understanding, getting a basic understanding of like how this game works and how you can play it. And if you have the means, start investing. Even if it's $10 or $20 a month, what were you going to spend that on? You're going to buy some V-Bucks, or you end up buying a dinner out with the boys. Like, hey, that extra $20 a month for a couple years, could definitely snowball into something great. So, ultimately, I feel the system failed me a little bit, may have failed you, but we don't have to stay lost. You can definitely grow going forward. So, I'm pretty much going to wrap up the video here. Like, let me ask you, what's one thing you wish school had taught you about money? Feel free to drop it in the comments, because I guarantee other people are feeling the same way as I am, and wish we had that extra push during school. But you live and you learn. So if you want more real talk like this about money, careers, life, and a little bit of Clash of Clans gameplay in the background, especially kind of getting motivation to start my own channel here, from the guys playing the old CODs with the nostalgia factor in play. I thought, hey, like Clash of Clans has been around for a while. I'm still dabbling in it a little bit. Hey, why not talk over some Clash of Clans attack gameplay in the background? So once again, if you're interested in staring at some Clash of Clans, listening to me rant about some money, career, and life, just feel free to subscribe to the channel. We're figuring this stuff out together. Welcome to the Lunch Table Vibes, and I hope you guys take care.